In the village of Edego, there was a story that parents told their children before bed. It was about a strange man who nobody could see. This man would visit the village once in a while, but no one knew when he came or when he left. The children would giggle and say it wasn't true, but the elders always told them to be careful. They called him the invisible stranger. One hot afternoon, little Ene sat outside her house, playing with her friend Odeh. The sun was high in the sky, and the leaves on the trees barely moved because the wind was still. It was one of those slow, lazy days in the village when nothing much happened. "I'm so bored," Ene groaned, lying flat on her back and staring up at the sky. "I know," Odeh replied, poking the ground with a stick. "Maybe we should go to the stream." Just as they were about to leave, an old woman, bent over with age and carrying a basket on her head, passed by. She looked tired and stopped in front of them. "Children," she said in a shaky voice, "have you heard? The stranger is in the village again." Ene and Odeh sat up quickly. "What stranger?" Ene asked, curious. The old woman's eyes twinkled, and she lowered her voice. "The invisible stranger, of course." Both children gasped. They had heard the stories, but it had always felt like a tale from long ago. Could it be true? "No one can see him," the old woman continued, "but he's here. Be careful, children. He knows all your secrets." With that, the old woman slowly walked away, leaving Ene and Odeh staring at each other. "You don't believe her, do you?" Odeh asked, frowning. "It's just an old story." "I don't know," Ene whispered, feeling a little scared. "But what if he's here?" The next morning, something strange happened in Edego. Mrs. Igbinidian, the village baker, woke up to find that all her bread had disappeared. She had left it cooling in her kitchen the night before, but now, not even a crumb was left. "How can all my bread be gone?" Mrs. Igbinidian cried, looking around in disbelief. "I baked them just yesterday." News spread fast through the village. Everyone was talking about the missing bread. Some said it was thieves, but others whispered that it was the invisible stranger. "He comes and takes what he wants," one old man said to a group of villagers gathered in the marketplace. "You can't stop him because no one can see him." That night, the same thing happened again, but this time it was the vegetables from Papa Ogin's garden. His tomatoes, yams, and okra were all gone. "This is no ordinary thief," Papa Ogin said angrily. "Someone, or something, is moving through the village without being seen." The villagers started to grow worried. What could they do if they couldn't see the person who was causing all the trouble? Ene and Odeh couldn't stop thinking about the invisible stranger. "Maybe we can catch him," Ivy said one afternoon while they were sitting by the stream. "We'll set a trap." Odeh looked doubtful. "But how can you catch someone you can't see?" Ene thought hard. "We'll sprinkle flour on the ground. If he steps on it, we'll see his footprints." That night, after everyone in the village had gone to sleep, Ene and Odeh crept out of their houses. They took bags of flour and scattered it all over the marketplace, the village square, and even in front of the houses where food had been taken. Then they hid behind some bushes and waited. It was a long night. The moon was high in the sky, and the village was quiet. The only sounds were the crickets chirping and the occasional hoot of an owl. Suddenly, Odeh grabbed Ene's arm. "Look." At first, Ene saw nothing, but then her heart raced. Right in front of Mrs. Igbinidian's house, a single footprint appeared in the flour. Then another. And another. "He's here," Ene whispered, her eyes wide with fear. They watched as the invisible footprints moved silently across the square, heading toward Papa Ogin's garden. They wanted to follow, but their feet felt glued to the ground with fear. The footprints disappeared into the darkness, and all was still again. The next morning, Ene and Odeh ran to tell their parents what they had seen. "Mama! Papa!" Ene cried, breathless. "We saw his footprints. The invisible stranger was in the village last night." Their parents didn't believe them at first. "You're just imagining things," Mama said, shaking her head. "Go and fetch water from the stream." But as Ene and Odeh ran through the village, they saw the flower and the footprints still there, clear as day. Other villagers began to gather around, staring in shock. "It's true," someone shouted. "The invisible stranger is real." The village elder, Chief Eru, called for a meeting that evening. Everyone gathered in the square, their faces filled with worry. Chief Eru stood on a raised platform, his voice strong and deep. "This is a serious matter," he said. "We cannot allow the invisible stranger to continue causing trouble in our village. We must find a way to stop him." "But how?" a young man asked. "If we cannot see him, how can we stop him?" The village fell silent. No one had an answer. That night, after the meeting, Ene couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the invisible stranger. Who was he? Why was he doing this? And most of all, how could they stop him? Suddenly, she remembered something her grandmother had told her long ago. "There's a magic stone deep in the forest," her grandmother had said. "It's hidden in a cave, and whoever holds it can see the unseen." Could the stone help them see the invisible stranger? The next morning, Ene and Odeh decided to go to the forest to find the stone. They didn't tell anyone, they knew their parents wouldn't let them go alone. The forest was thick and dark, with tall trees that reached up to the sky. The air was cool and strange sounds echoed around them. Ene held Odeh's hand tightly as they made their way deeper into the forest. After what felt like hours, they found the cave. It was hidden behind a waterfall, and they had to squeeze through a narrow gap in the rocks to enter. Inside the cave, it was cool and quiet. In the center of the cave was a glowing stone, just as Ene's grandmother had described. It shimmered with a soft light, filling the cave with a magical glow. "We found it," Odeh whispered, his eyes wide with excitement. Ene carefully picked up the stone, feeling its warmth in her hands. "Now we can see the invisible stranger," she said with determination. When Ene and Odeh returned to the village with the magic stone, they felt braver. That night, they decided to follow the footprints again, this time with the stone in their hands. They sprinkled the flower as they had before and hid in the same bushes, waiting. The moon was full, casting long shadows across the village square. For a long time, nothing happened. Then, just as they were about to give up, they saw the footprints again. This time, however, they could see him. The invisible stranger was no longer invisible. He was tall, with dark eyes and a long, flowing cloak that seemed to blend with the night. His face was pale, and his movements were quick and quiet. Ene's heart pounded in her chest, but she knew they had to be brave. "Stop," she called, stepping out from the bushes with the magic stone in her hand. The invisible stranger turned to face them, surprise flickering in his eyes. "You can see me?" he asked, his voice soft but full of power. "Yes," Ene said boldly, holding up the stone. "Why are you stealing from our village?" The stranger looked down at the ground, his dark eyes sad. "I do not steal for myself," he said. "I steal because I was cursed long ago. I cannot eat, and I cannot rest until I have taken food from others." "Who cursed you?" Odeh asked, stepping closer. The stranger sighed. "It was a witch, many years ago. I made a mistake, and I angered her. She cursed me to walk unseen, forever hungry, never able to take food for myself." Ene and Odeh felt sorry for the invisible stranger. They could see that he was not truly bad. Just trapped by a curse. "Maybe we can help you," Ene said softly. The next morning, Ene and Odeh told Chief Eru what had happened. The chief listened carefully, his face serious. "We must find the witch who cursed him," Chief Eru said. "Only she can break the curse." With the help of the magic stone, the villagers searched the land until they found the old witch in a faraway village. She was a small, wrinkled woman with sharp eyes and a crooked smile. "I will break the curse," she said, "but only if the stranger promises to never harm anyone again." The invisible stranger promised, and with a wave of the witch's hand, the curse was lifted. From that day on, the stranger became part of the village. He helped the villagers with their work and became a friend to all, no longer stealing or hiding in the shadows. The people of Edego never forgot the lesson they learned. Even those who seem frightening sometimes just need a little kindness. And so, life in Edego returned to normal, but Ene and Odeh never forgot their adventure with the invisible stranger. What do you think of the story? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this adventure, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell so you can get notified when I post more interesting stories like this one. Can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye.